What is up, guys? Chick Kackis here. Thank you so much for stopping by. And today we're going to be talking about. Wait, what are we talking about?
Today, we're going to be covering 5 amazing weapons in Destiny 2 that you just can't get anymore. They're relics of the game's past, sometimes from activities that aren't in the game anymore, or events that have come and gone. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, listen here, Richard, why would you cover guns that I can't even get in the game? Well, I'll tell you. Number 1, it's just a cool look at some of the iconic weapons of Destiny's past. Number 2, if you're a veteran player, you likely have some of these in your collections. It may be time to bring them out and try them out again. Some are actually really quite usable even today. And number 3, Bungie really likes to bring back some of the old weapons and redo them for random roles. A lot of these could potentially be returning in the near future. And so, let's get started. So, at number 5, we have the ZEPHYR Legendary Sword. This is all the way back from the first Dawning event, I believe, in Destiny 2, and the Dawning should be returning pretty soon for this year. Now, the ZEPHYR is an old school year 1 weapon. It doesn't have as many perks as some of the new randomly rolled swords, so definitely you can probably get a better version of this, but the ZEPHYR is no slouch. It does come with Whirlwind Blade. Consecutive rapid sword strikes increase this weapon's damage output. Whirlwind Blade is actually one of the best perks you're looking for PvE because it increases the damage output pretty significantly. It's kind of like Swashbuckler or Rampage, but it doesn't even require kills, just hits. So if you're attacking a big boss, if you're attacking a powerful major enemy, you can just hit, and each one is going to do more and more and more damage, and you can ramp the damage up pretty fast and have a pretty significant damage output. In addition to that, the thing about the old school weapons is that you can actually, as you can see, reforge their masterworks. So, unlike current weapons where if you don't get the masterwork you want, if you want range masterwork but you get reload, you just gotta go and farm a whole nother roll. For this, you can, if you have the materials, keep re-rolling until you get what I got here, the impact masterwork, which is literally more damage. So it comes with a fantastic, arguably the best sword perk for PvE, and you can for sure give it just straight up more damage. That's real good. And when I was using it within Vex Offensive, it acted totally fine. This acted just like a normal current era sword with a good roll, except for the fact that I'm showing off and I'm using something incredibly unique. So that's the ZEPHYR. Moving on from there, at number 4, we have the VOW Legendary Bow. This is from the previous Crimson Days Valentine's Day event. Now, this thing is really interesting. It was actually introduced into the game via an event, so that meant it was a bow which you could only have access to with the Forsaken expansion normally, but it was available to all players. So many players out there, if they didn't buy the DLC, this was the only bow they had access to, and it came fully masterworked and has a really interesting roll. Rapid hit plus Archer's Tempo. I have this exact roll on my Garden of Salvation raid bow. That's right, that bow is pretty much the only other one that can get rapid hit, making it so that rapid precision hits temporarily increase stability and reload speed. Now, reload speed on bows is really just the time it takes from it to go 0 to 1 round again in the corner of your screen. And rapid hit really only shaves off a few frames. But if you really want the fastest shooting bow you can get in terms of a roll, rapid hit plus Archer's Tempo is it. And some people out there are going for the Garden of Salvation raid bow with that roll just to get, like, again, the fastest firing version out there. Well, the VOW comes with that automatically and has a draw time masterwork built in. And the result of all of those things going on means the VOW gives you some of the fastest follow-up shots for a bow, and that is definitely useful whether you're running this thing in PvP or in PvE. But it is time to move on to our number 3 slot, and that goes to the Avalanche Legendary Machine Gun. This comes from last year's Dawning event. It did have the capability to get random rolls, so this is not set in stone. This is just the best roll of all of the different Avalanches I got for that event, and it's not bad. Ricochet rounds, slideways, but the main good perk here is Rampage. Now, the Avalanche is absolutely no joke, and that's because it belongs to the 450 rounds per minute archetype for machine guns. It was introduced kind of just as Season of the Forge was arriving, and the Hammerhead, which it shares the same damage archetype, was just introduced. So machine guns were just introduced into Destiny around the time the Avalanche came to be. So this is basically a different version of the Hammerhead. And we know from PvP and PvE just how good the Hammerhead is. Now, the Avalanche did have slightly worse stats overall. However, the reload speed is quite good. But a slightly worse Hammerhead is still an incredibly powerful weapon, especially depending on if you did get a decent roll of the Avalanche. It could be better than your rolls of the Hammerhead. Not only that, it's important to remember that they're different elements. And if you want to use a machine gun that are very good right now in a PvE scenario with something like Match Game, well, the Avalanche may actually be better in that scenario than the Hammerhead. And if you're someone who likes using the Hammerhead or the new one from the moon, a Fine Memorial, which is Arc, in activities like the Menagerie Strikes, etc., but it's Solar Singe, well, take advantage of that extra damage and use something very close to those two, the Avalanche. And, I mean, again, it's really close to the Hammerhead in performance, so you can bring this thing into PvP, do just fine, and have the people you kill be going, wait, what is that gun? You know, sometimes you just gotta flex on your opponents, you know what I'm saying? Alright, it is time to move on from there to our number 2 slot. And number 2 and number 1 are actually really viable to incorporate into your builds today. They're really powerful weapons. So number 2 is the Darkest Before Pulse Rifle back from Trials of the Nine, the famous lost activity. So many PvP players want the return of Trials, and Trials of the Nine was the D2 version of Trials of Osiris. So again, you either have this weapon or you don't, and that's the case for all of these weapons. But if you do, taking it out of your collections is a really good idea, and that's because it belongs to the fastest firing damage archetype for pulse rifles, which are doing really well in the Crucible right now because of a recent buff. Stuff like the Outlast, stuff like the Claws of the Wolf are slaying. The Darkest Before also belongs to that archetype, obviously, and like we've said, it can customize its masterwork just by redoing it over and over again, so you can for sure get that range masterwork you really want. And its main perk here is full auto trigger system. That is absolutely no joke with this archetype of pulse rifle. It is the fastest firing one, and it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to perfectly hit that damage cap with your finger. So full auto trigger system completely removes human error and says, no, you're going to get your absolute mathematical optimal time to kill every single time. And that's very powerful. The fact that it also has either quick draw or slideways, making it so that you get more range for sliding, that's not bad either. Sorry, slide shot. In any event, I took this into the Crucible, into Iron Banner actually, and was doing just fine. I did not feel like I was at any sort of disadvantage for using an old school weapon. If anything, I was kind of at an advantage to people trying to just manually fire their Claws of the Wolf, etc. Now, of course, if this thing had one of the modern day perks like multi-kill clip, something like that, it would be absurd. It would just be, way better than its year one version. But if you don't have a good Claws of the Wolf, if you don't have a good Outlast, but you're a veteran player who was around during the days of Trials of the Nine, this is seriously something you should be looking at, especially because its overall range with Hammer Forged Barrel and the fact that, again, you can get that range masterwork 100% and slide shot. Yeah, you can actually peg people from ranges they just aren't expecting for a fast-firing pulse rifle using the Darkest Before. But it is time to move on from there to our number one option. And that is the time-worn SPIRE Legendary Pulse Rifle. This is back from the old Year 1 Iron Banner days, so this is actually one of the most likely weapons to be reintroduced into the game. Bungie has been reskinning the Year 1 Iron Banner stuff into randomly rolled versions, so we could see the time-worn SPIRE very soon. Now, why is this thing so good? Well, just like the Darkest Before, it belongs to the rapid fire frame pulse rifles, which again are doing fantastic in PvP right now. But the time-worn SPIRE actually has a very good Year 1 roll. We've got the red dot sight that gives it a ton more range, we've got accurized rounds, and we've got Zen Moment. Now, just like before, yeah, multi-kill clip would be better than Zen Moment, but this ain't bad, especially when you consider it's kinetic. The Darkest Before we just looked at, and the Outlast, and the Claws of the Wolf, and the Horror's Least are all in the energy slot. This is one of the only legendary kinetic rapid fire pulses in the game. There's actually 2 more, and that's it. And this is one of the better ones. In fact, I think this is the best one. The one that kind of comes close is the Autumn Wind from Crucible in Warmind. That can get the same range, but it has Under Pressure as a perk, and I think Zen Moment is better. You don't have to wait into the bottom half of your magazine for it to finally start working. But that aside, again, the fact that you can use this incredibly in-the-meta pulse rifle, but at the same time, unlike any of the other most used rapid-fire pulses, you can use your Mindbender's shotgun at the same time. That's exactly what I did when I was using this thing, and that is a huge advantage. Seriously, there are some unbelievably powerful weapons in the energy slot. Dare I say the Recluse, but I won't forget that. Don't use the Recluse. Come on, guys. All right, but seriously, Mindbenders, stuff like the Beloved, those are all energy weapons, and so you literally cannot pair them with any of those currently used rapid fire pulses. The time-worn SPIRE, you can. So this opens up so many different loadouts, and it's something that if you are using a Claws of the Wolf, if you are using an Outlast, switching to the time-worn SPIRE, yeah, it may have slightly worse performance than those weapons because of its perk roll, but if doing that enables a far superior special weapon to be used, it allows you to switch from your Dust Rock to your Mindbenders, that's actually worth it. And so guys, that is it for 5 amazing weapons that currently are impossible to get. Again, hopefully we see these reintroduced into the game via random rolls. I think there are so many cool ways that Bungie could incorporate them, especially stuff like the time-worn SPIRE. Because we really need a rapid-fire kinetic pulse. Guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed, found this informative. If you did, please remember to slap that subscribe button. If you guys want to keep up to date with the channel, be sure to follow me on Twitter at @RickKackis. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.